Hello there. My name is Jaiye Bynoe. You on the Jayman Show, which is on WBCA 102.9 FM, Boston's local community radio station. My guest is Nicolle Rochelle from Sometimes for China. Nicole, good to see you on the show today.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing wonderful. So good to see you today. Okay. So I guess my question to you is, how did you get started in the entertainment field? As an actress.
Well, let's see. I remember thinking to myself when I was about 5 years old, I was born to sing
Oh,
because I kind of recognized that I could imitate sounds.
mhm,
So I thought, okay, I'm a singer. That's my destiny. That's what I'm here to do. So
mhm.
I told my parents and I gave them a little show and dance, song and dance. And then I remember kind of them asking me, where do you want to sing? And it was like, well, anywhere, I'm good for, I'm down for whatever in my 5-year-old speak.
Yeah.
And then my mom put me in lessons like shortly after, maybe about a year and a half, 2 years after. I remember starting around 7. And it was at that time I was in New Jersey, so it's normal. Like you're close to New York, you got to do dancing, acting, singing, which I loved all of them. They pretty much relate to me in all their expression of emotions. So I went in class right away, and then I found a manager when I was 8 because the manager came to the school where I was,
Uh-huh.
and then the manager picked about 5 kids. She asked my mom, did we want to sign? And she was like, well, listen, if it works out
Mhm,
and she keeps her grades and her good attitude, then okay, why not? So we gave it a try.
mhm,
And then it just kind of it kept going pretty well from there. Like I got a commercial
mhm.
shortly after. And then the big thing I got was the Shining Time Station TV series with Ringo Starr. And I was just turning 9. And that was like you know, a big coming out into the industry because it was great for the resume, obviously. And I didn't even know who the Beatles were, but he was a great guy. He was funny, and that really got me started well. So from there, just kept going pretty nicely between school and dance classes, voice lessons, and acting.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I first kind of recognized from the movie Sometimes Switch for Jay-Z and Rod Strong. That was a wonderful movie. How did you get that role in Sometimes Switch?
Yeah, that was great. It was just a time period where there were a lot of great auditions going on, a lot of castings, and I had that audition. Um, I think it was a videotape audition at first, and then eventually you end up meeting the directors and stuff. And I got it. And at the time, I didn't even because Ryder Strong was pretty well known,
Hmm.
and I wasn't. I guess I didn't know him that much, but I knew of him a little bit. But
Yeah.
there was a great cast in there. I remember when I was discovering all who was cast because they had the guy, oh man, I should know his name. He was in a series called, was it Coach or something?
Oh,
It was the big
yeah.
dude. He was like
I for-
super well known.
yeah, I forget his name. Yeah, I forget his name.
You know him too, yeah. He was in it, and then Soleil Moonfry
Yeah,
from Punky Brewster. Like there were a lot of great roles in that, and obviously Jason Weaver,
yeah,
who yeah at the time he was also known from the Jackson thing and everything.
yeah.
He was singing, and
Yes,
so
you are.
everybody was, yeah. And then the guy forgetting everybody's name, the bigger dude that was in Sandlot.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, yeah.
Patrick, was it Patrick, I think?
I think so because I met him in Boston. I forget his name. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, all these great young, up and coming and already coming stars, so I was pretty good.
Mhm.
I was in good company. I felt pretty happy to be cast in that,
Yeah,
and we had a great time. It was like it was like a summer camp making it. It was so much fun.
yeah. Definitely, it was definitely a great movie. Do you still keep in touch with you? Do you still keep in touch with Jason Weaver and Rod Strong for the movie?
I've been on their like Instagrams and
Uh,
said hey or whatever, but not like a personal like we call each other or anything like that. And it
okay.
was like after the movie, I kept in touch with a few people, and it just kind of like petered off. But for a while,
Uh,
everyone's just going off and doing their things and trying to like gain in the momentum of their career. So it's really hard to like keep in touch.
I guess that's true. Yeah, and you were also on the Cosby Show, right? Bill Cosby.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
I was
mm,
that when I was about 12.
mm-hmm,
So that was before Summertime Switch. I guess I was like 15.
mm-hmm.
And before Cosby was also the Babysitters Club
Oh,
series. I don't, you know about that one?
oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was pretty popular. I used to read the books, and then I got on that one. And so there was a bunch of great things happening at the time. And so Cosby came in around 12, and
Okay.
oh man, that was a great experience for me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Everyone was pretty chill. Everyone was pretty nice.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and at the time, Cosby, what did I know? And at any rate, he was at the time he was like a father figure,
Mm-hmm.
mentor type person. He was like giving advice to me. He was like being a cool dude or whatever. Um, And it was also a great thing, obviously, for the career and everything, because everybody saw that show, even in Europe. Eventually when I went to Europe years later, people said, I saw you in the Cosby Show in French, things like that. So that was a really good opportunity at the time.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so have things gone better between you and Cosby? Because I saw you got arrested I was kind of sad that he got arrested. Everything go okay after that incident?
Yeah. Actually, I was surprised at the treatment, because I was a bit nervous about the treatment of cops in the United States, because I've been in this activist group that's called FEMAN, and they regularly come against the cops in Europe, but we're not like violent or anything. It's pretty passive, so there's no real risk resisting arrest or anything. But the cops here are very passive as compared to the cops in the United States. So I had already done a few actions in Europe and been arrested, but for me it felt pretty calm. Whereas in the States, I was like, okay, guys, like I could be shot, so let's just keep that in mind. But for me, it was worth it. Like I really felt like it was an important thing to do, to represent the bodies, the bodies of the women that had been abused, which the count was about 60 at the time.
Okay.
And I felt like that was a worthy cause enough to lend my body to the cause and symbolically represent these bodies coming alive in front of him and confronting him and saying, look, you took my naked body, here it is. And I'm saying no this time, actively saying no, because I can actually move, whereas he incapacitated them, and that was the point of the whole action, which in the end, it seemed a bit lost on America. Like people didn't really want to have that discussion. It was more about like, I'm a prostitute, I'm a whore, and I hate Black people. Like that was the whole discussion about me afterward, which was very interesting for me and really eye-opening, because I had thought that maybe the abuse of women would trump the need to make it a race issue, but it didn't. And that was interesting to me, that I learned about that experience. But going back to the cops, I mean, they pushed me a little bit, but afterward, I definitely did not resist arrest, and it was a very peaceful situation. They even asked me like, oh, do you want a coffee? What kind of flavor you want and stuff. Okay. So it was pretty chill behind the scenes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was an interesting experience, and I'm not regretting it.
Okay. And did you get any jail time or just any you just got arrested in your build up immediately after that incident? You just not from
it was just the initial arrest, and then I was like waiting around for a few hours and stuff, and had to talk to the cops about what had happened. And then eventually, I don't know who decided, but they did eventually decide to not press charges, which was kind of surprising to me, because I did think that maybe I would get the like either like disruption of the public sphere or something about being nude, which is funny because in the United States, in New York City, you can be topless and not be arrested.
Oh, really?
Because some parts of America recognize that the woman can have a chest and not have it be sexual, but only New York City, apparently. Maybe there's like one other place, but I only remember hearing about New York City it being legal. Whereas in Paris, where they're more well known to be open about this sort of thing, it's illegal in Paris. Oh. So I'm more likely to get arrested in Paris than I am in the States. But obviously where I was, which was at Norristown, I think, it's illegal there apparently. So it could have been a charge, but they eventually dropped the charges. So I was really lucky on that front. But the main thing was that the victims felt supported. I got a lot of calls and support from them, being that I got a lot of hate as well. And they really a couple of them came right away to the hotel where I was and just like hugged me. And we had like a crying reunion about just how they didn't feel supported. And that was one step in the direction of like, at least they knew a group like my group, FEMAN, and myself were supporting them. And we were there to say, look, what happened to you wasn't okay. And the thing that's crazy is that, well, it's not maybe crazy, but they couldn't express their anger because they're forced to be this sort of like composed victim, in court, looking along and politely trying to see if he's going to be convicted. And that's just unfair. They have to be this sort of composed person when, let's think about it. Was he composed? Was he composed when he was serially raping people for 50 years? No. So it's just unfair that they had to be this like, non-hysterical woman so that they didn't get, talked about. And then So that I was this hysterical woman for them. I was the angry one for them. It's okay to be angry about being raped, you know, and that was the point. And they felt supported in that way. And in addition, there were a couple women of color that he had violated that everyone forgot about, because it was this whole plot about it's got to be the white women coming for him and the white society and the white money wanting him to not be involved in their money. But the reality is NBC was not able to be bought by solely him anyway. And also he violated women of color. So that's the reality that a lot of people forgot. And so those women of color that I was representing as well felt very, grateful for the support that came in that one action, which, you know, I mean, it was a symbolic action, and it did take a bit of sacrifice on my part, and, you know, and I was happy to do it. And I'm glad that it was mainly for them. It wasn't for like the public for the jury to change their minds. That wasn't really the point. So I'm glad that point came across, at least for the victims.
Yeah, because I have to admit, you know, it is kind of sad when actors, you know, with status can take advantage of young women like yourself, you know, like R. Kelly or Bill Cosby. You know, yeah, it is sad, you know, because whether you have money or power, does you give it right to take advantage of somebody, you know, something like that, you know, it just doesn't, you know. So I definitely understand, you know.
Yeah. And it didn't happen to me, but I mean, I think back to how many times it could have. I was naive as well. I was a young, naive woman. And even now, I'm a pretty trusting person. So someone like Bill Cosby, he was so impressive. He was such a father figure, and he really leaned into that role. So, you know, in some ways I have a little sympathy for him. I think he has problems mentally. I think he really has a dissociative disorder where he thinks he's like two different people completely, because how can you be so intelligent and so helpful in some ways and so talented, and then you think that's okay to do what you did on the other hand, you know? And so I would have believed him if he had asked me and said, listen, come to my room, we're going to discuss your career, and we're going to go over some points about acting. At any time during the day or night, I would have probably thought it was okay. I mean, unless he called me at like midnight. But a lot of these women, when you really read their cases, they started going over to talk to him at around 8 p.m. The night before he had a dinner with their parents, like things that were really disarming, you know, manipulative on purpose. And so I definitely would have been someone to have been trusting. And then, you know, some of these women had said to him, no, I don't drink, I just want a coffee. And he would drop a pill in the coffee. So it wasn't that all of them were agreeing to take drugs. And I never, you know, in discussion with people, I've never denied and would never deny that, yes, some of the women did maybe and said yes to take a drug or two because it was maybe the time period to have parties or whatever. And some of them did maybe want to have sex with them, but that didn't mean that he had the right to drug them before they had the right to say yes to the sex. You know what I mean?
I do.
So you can't put all the women in the same boat. It's 50-year span of time. They were all very different, from different walks of life, different looks. I mean, there was no real pattern to the women he chose in a way. And that's where you can tell that it wasn't a setup of like, those women didn't know each other. Like, how are they going to talk at the way different ages and statutes of life that they were in? You know, some of them were already famous, even like didn't need to come up. So it's just, it's a really interesting case of how to what lengths people will go to deny that even the statistically proven that 60 women will definitely cannot lie, will not and definitely cannot lie. All of them have not lied about it. So that means even if he raped one woman, he's a rapist. And for me, that was like way enough to take action. And that's what I like about the group that I'm a part of called Femmes in France. I can't say it's a perfect group. Is there a perfect group doing anything? You know, I don't, but the way that they do things, they take action. And that inspires me, because there's so much time we can spend talking about these things and say, oh, that's not right, and it's so sad, and da-da-da, and da-da-dee, and rape culture and sexism and racism. But then who's really standing up and trying to get in somebody's face to say, confront this issue, confront it. You know, and I know that this group, they do that. So that's why I felt it was important, and I felt comfortable like being a part of a group where they actually talk about things a lot and then they take action. They do research and they take action. We're not just some crazy women that say, yeah, let's show our boobs. Like, that's what people will liken it to. And it's just funny how they think it's that simple. Like, really? Do you think that's what we thought? Like, let's just go to jail for fun? No, there's a lot of research behind that, you know?
Yeah. I see. Wow. So what made you want to move overseas to Europe, you know, instead of being here in the United States?
Ooh, Listen, I loved living and working in the United States, but since I had done it for so long, since the age of about 8, professionally speaking, it had been about 20 years, and I was like, wow, I mean, it's a great time, but at the same time that I was considering moving, um, actually, I was considering moving to LA to
Mm-hmm.
take a change from New York. And I grew up with a dad as a motorcycle rider, a mechanic, a teacher. My mom's a teacher. So I was in the mood to kind of live my life and learn more. And also my love for motorcycles from my dad, from that side of the family. I wanted to experience that more. And I wanted to sing more because I had done a lot of acting and not enough singing for my taste, for the fact that I felt like I was born to sing. So I
Mm-hmm.
started writing an album, and I said, you know what? I want to move to LA and just want to ride on a motorcycle a lot
Mm-hmm.
and do a few castings, but I really want to make more music these days,
Mm-hmm.
express myself in that way. So I was just about to do that, and I had literally bought the ticket like the day before, and then I had an audition come through the email for Josephine Baker.
Mm-hmm.
And this was my life goal pretty much since I was about 12. I had
Wow.
seen the Josephine Baker movie. Did you see that with Lynn Whitfield?
Yeah, it was a good movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it great?
Yeah, it was
I was
great.
totally inspired by that. And I was shocked when I saw it. I was thinking, wow, that's like that's me. She's me. Like I'm her. Like everything she does, I feel related to, feel connected to. And I also have a similar voice where I can imitate the style that she has. I speak French. I had already started learning French. I'm comfortable being naked. I don't see anything vulgar about it. It's just natural. And I love dancing and activism and children, like everything she was doing, I really felt connected to. And I had already been studying classical music, so my voice was like a soprano like her. And I didn't know many singers that did this sort of soprano and low type of vocal range,
Mm-hmm.
jazz and French and English. So all that spoke to me. And then so I had decided at that time, I want to be like Joseph. I want to go to France like Josephine Baker and sing one day. So then, about 14 years later, I got this audition,
Mm-hmm.
this call, but it was the day after I bought the ticket to go to LA. So it was just weird. I was like, wow, I just was about to move to change my life. And then
Mm-hmm.
I realized, well, maybe it's going to change in a different way, and so I had the audition a few days later. And then, yeah, I mean, the guy told me pretty much the day of, well, pack your bags, and it was kind of funny. And I said, well, I guess I'll just take a break in LA and then I'll go to France. And then that's what happened. That was about 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to France finally, it had already been my goal for years. And so I just decided to stay after that point. But, there are many things I miss about the States, of course. And a lot of that has to do with acting, because there's really not an industry like at all comparable to what is existing in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
between LA and New York. But as far as singing and dancing, there's like so many opportunities out here and so much that they want to see in an authentic fashion coming from the States. So I get this extra, it's like an extra appreciation here, because I can sing in French and Spanish and German, and I love to learn languages and learn to sing in them. But I can also do the authentic, like Jersey style, African-American style song and dance, including boogie woogie, blues, jazz. And the boogie woogie and blues came mostly, I learned it
Mm-hmm.
from here. Like I learned it, I had listened to it a little bit, but I had learned that it was a valuable style that people really wanted from Europe when I was already in Europe. And so I started studying it from here. And that's funny because it was already my heritage, but I hadn't been into it like when I was in the States. I had listened a lot to Billie Holiday and a lot to Josephine and other jazz singers, but it was mostly Broadway jazz or jazz torch song styles, and not as much traditional. But then I became way more into traditional style from here because it's so appreciated. So I started flying all over Austria, Germany, doing this kind of jazz traditional and boogie woogie and blues. And it's a whole other career. It's a whole other opportunity. And it's just so much fun. It's so much fun that people freaking love it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm having a blast and staying over here doing that, and then going more into dance as well, because I have more time not doing acting roles, that I can study more dance styles over here.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's one of they have those careers for people like myself want to be a singer and actor, because overseas you can make it much faster, and that sounds like that's what out there I want to do myself, so that'd be great.
Yeah, they want us authentic us, and they welcome us with open arms. Like over here, you don't have to have an extensive resume for people to just look at you and say, that works, I want that. Yeah, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, because in the States, you may not even get into the audition if you don't have, a certain type of resume. But over here, you can meet certain people, and then if they like you, like they'll have you meet more people, and then you're flying to different places doing great contracts, you know. So it's a really good opportunity.
I definitely hear
I
you.
suggest it.
Definitely take a word for you, because if you could say music over there, that'd be great. They can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. So tell me some more about your music. Are you working on any more music? Songs that we can hear?
Yeah, funny you should mention. I really just had a super long and stressful week. That's
Mm-hmm.
why my voice sounds a bit
Oh,
crazy right now, because I'm also a bit sick, but I
oh.
was stressed, and I think it was that made me a bit sick too, because I had to do a bunch of concerts for different repertoires, and then also right before that I was doing videos and sound recording and photo shooting for my own project, which is called Modern Geisha.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a whole project based on the geisha, which is literally artist,
Mm-hmm.
art person. And so symbolically taking this reference, this literal meaning of geisha, and the fact that the geisha, the real geisha, not the geisha from the movie that people think is a
Yeah.
prostitute of luxury. That's not the real geisha. The real geisha, when you actually look into it, is a woman, and there are very few of them nowadays, that sacrifice and study all day long different types of art for at least 8 hours a day. Like, it's a constant school.
Mm-hmm.
And they study all different types of art to become not perfectionists, because that's the beauty of it too. They never stop learning. It's this perpetual student state that I
Oh,
really respect, and I think is a kind of a goal that should and could be a goal for all of us in terms of the art of our own person. Becoming our own best selves could be an art
yeah.
of our daily lives. 8 hours a day of studying the art of being ourselves in different ways, the
Yeah.
authentic and best self that we can be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the kind of geisha style. So I took this idea symbolically, and am develop and I'm developing myself as the best artist I can be, trying to stretch out, and do this all that I can do on stage, like dancing and singing and different languages and things like that, and basically try to have music with a message,
Mm-hmm.
this message that I think is important to say,
Yeah.
combined with other things, songs about love and just life in general. But I wrote 2 new songs, and we just did the videos for that, about 3 days ago. So I can here in about a few days, I can send you either, like an MP3 or a link or whatever, some photos that we did, the photo shoot. It's a group that's 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
In general, it's a trio, the Modern Geisha group, my project. And there's a beatboxer from Austria who sings, he plays piano, he does beatboxing and effects. He's a really talented musician. He's a jazz man, but he loves also house and pop, which speaks to me because I love all different styles, but I'm like really a house head, like from Jersey. That's really my original love, or one of my original loves of music. So
Mm-hmm.
I really want to do a lot of sort of house trance music that kind of goes in and out of jazz and rap and all different styles. And then I welcomed recently a jazz man
Mm-hmm.
who's a French guy that does effects on his jazz with pedals and loop station as well,
Mm-hmm.
with his saxophone.
Oh, wow.
So it's a really cool effect because it allows me the space between the 2 of them to dance. And I also paint on stage. I'm painting the kanji and calligraphy that I'm learning in, because I'm studying Japanese at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And just to work out my brain as well, but also to connect to the culture a little bit more,
Oh, wow.
because I'm definitely not a culture vulture type of person. Like, I believe if you're going to, take a culture and talk about it, you should really get into it and learn it. And, I went to Japan a few times, and I even performed some of what I want for my show in Japan.
Uh-huh.
And the people really seem to appreciate it. So that gave me even more of the green light to go ahead and, like, okay, I'm going to develop this and try to take it around wherever I can,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not about imitation. It's about being the artist that I am and trying to encourage others to be the art of themselves. Be the artist that you can be, even if you're not an artist, because it is an art to be yourself.
Yes, it
It's a
is.
hard task. It's not
Mhm.
easy. We've been programmed from birth to be someone else, to be what everyone else wants us to be. So it's
Mhm.
all about this reconditioning, unlearning and relearning type thing that is really quite intriguing, but not quite taught to us, which is interesting.
Yeah, but I love to hear some more music, and I love to send you some of my music as well, so you check it out.
Yeah,
That'd be great. I send some,
definitely.
if it
Let's
says
do it.
the same tonight, yeah. So is there any chance you might come out to the US anytime soon, maybe?
Yeah. I will. Where are you stationed?
I'm in Boston but I love,
Oh, right.
I would love to meet you, personally. That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. I went to school at Brown. I went to Brown,
Is that in Boston? Because
Providence, Rhode Island.
okay, well, yeah, yeah, really, I can definitely get down there. It'd be
Yeah, I was supposed to have a reunion, but with COVID, it was canceled and everything.
yeah,
But at some point, I definitely will pass through Providence, and even if I come to the States, I'll probably pass through New York. So if you could maybe pop over there.
I can definitely come down there. Absolutely.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm between New York and Florida usually because my family's between New York and
I
Florida.
love Florida, because one thing is Boston. I don't like the snow, so I'm trying to move to Florida.
Yeah.
Or California, I mean, yeah. So how's about over
Okay.
there? So how's about over there? Is it nice over there?
It's this global warming weirdness,
Yeah.
and that definitely led to me becoming sick because
Oh.
it was the other day. It was like, oh, what was it in okay, I don't know what it is, the conversion, but it was like 7 degrees here,
Oh my
and
God.
then it was 17. So it just figure like 10 degrees change. That's like a lot. Basically it was winter in the morning. Let's put it like this. My breath was like you could see my breath, the winter cold breath coming out. And then it was like a t-shirt in the afternoon. That's weird.
Okay.
So the body was having a weird, strong, hard time kind of warming up and, cooling itself down again and then warming up again. So the colds are coming, is coming in, and it's random. It's not, there's no rhyme or reason. It's all of a sudden it's summer, then it's spring, then it's cold, then it's winter.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I like it. It is generally the same as like an Eastern type of temperature. It's kind of like New York here in Paris.
I see.
But occasionally it's warmer, occasionally it's colder. It's weird.
I see. Wow. So how did COVID affect you over there? Was it really bad? The pandemic over there was really bad for you?
It's so different for everybody. So for me personally, it was good because I had just bought a house.
Oh my God! Wow!
Like
Congratulations.
maybe a year before. Thanks. Like, yes, me and my boyfriend, we bought a house together, and so we have a little garden, and we also just had a child.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
So when COVID hit, he was about 3 months old, and I was just about going back to work from maternity leave. So it was kind of like, oh, well, okay, well, I guess I just won't go back to work. I'll just do one concert and then come back into hiding and, go have barbecues.
Oh, wow.
So it was actually kind of nice that we had the house with the garden. And he had a lot of extra time with our child because normally, the father gets less paternity leave than the mom.
Wow.
So we got to have a similar paternity leave, and the baby got his spoiled time with mommy and daddy, and we got to see every little, moment of growth in him and his brain evolving. It's so interesting. Until it started to come out of confinement, and then little by little started to go back to work. But I feel like it definitely was less pressure here to go back to work than in the States.
Yeah.
I think the States is a bit more pressed, as it is always. Like there's much more of a work ethic in the United States. Here it's more like take your vacation, take your time off. So it was a nice vibe, I'd say, to have confinement. And
yeah, I definitely.
You're supported. Going into the artist thing in Europe as well. If you work enough hours as an artist, you get artist status here. And once you have the status, they calculate your daily rate, and then they give that back to you every day. As long as you keep working, they'll give you your daily rate. They'll pay it back to you because basically what happens is your employer pays double and pays into the system.
Wow.
Then you get back a little bit of that money every day. And when you work, you tell them what days you worked, and they take that out of the calculation, but then they give you all the rest of the money for the month.
Oh,
so cool. You kind of are set. And what they did here was they just prolonged the payments on this kind of a program. I'm not sure what other people were doing, but I know I'm an artist status, I had this like minimum payment coming in every month, and it was just prolonged because of the pandemic. So I really had no worries. I had my rent paid, and I got extra time to just like do my Japanese class online and study and just be with my baby. So that was pretty cool. And then work on my project, of course. It's a constant project, constant working on.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Very amazing. Yeah, I'm so fantastic. Yeah.
Thanks.
So what advice can you give people like myself who want to be artists, singing like you? What advice can you give them that want to be, that want to be beautiful like you?
It's it's never a given thing. Like, I don't think anything that happens is ever like set in stone. Like, I could have well started my career with Ringo Starr, but I am not famous. I am not, my career is not set, like, they say how they always say you're only as good as your last project or whatever. That definitely is a pressure that we have as artists. So for me, my goal is to just continually be authentic and be myself, and it's nice to study the market and kind of figure out what people might want, but in the end of the day, it's better to really do what you feel you want to do. And if you could try to have that match with some market, maybe there are a few tweaks you can do. But for me, the advice is really to follow something you love to do, because it's going to be a lot of work anyway, regardless, especially nowadays with social media. There's so much pressure. I am not of that era. When the Cosby thing happened, I went viral. I was like, what? What? Like, I have never lived through something like that ever. You wake up and like hundreds, thousands of messages and like people calling you and then dissing you online with 20-minute videos about who you are, and none of that shit is right. Like, it is crazy. So it's a hard game these days, and not like it was ever easy, but I think it takes a lot of time. So if you're going to invest in that, you really got to like it, I'd say. So it's just the classic advice, like, really do something you love, but find who you are uniquely within that. Like, offer what you have to the world. And then I would say another thing that even plagues people that are quote unquote talented, someone like me, like, okay, so I know I can sing, but that doesn't mean people want to hear me sing, and that doesn't mean that I'm completely confident saying, oh, I have a great album or great songs to offer. Not really, because it really depends on the way you promote it, the timing. It depends on so much, but I just got to keep saying to myself, and that would be the advice to give, is just find who I am uniquely, is like my own thing to offer. That's why I like to write my music and not just interpret music, because I'm the only one that can write something that I wrote. Even if it's a simple song, it still came from me. So I could kind of own that and offer that and uniquely to the world. So find what is only you that maybe can do, and then do that. And hopefully you love doing that, and that you find the right person to offer it to, the right niche. There are so many communities out there nowadays too. Social media is annoying, but it does offer a lot of different communities. Like, it's crazy how if you hashtag something on Instagram, you just see like how many people are interested in that topic. And then you could go into that community wherever your hashtag is, So it's kind of opened up a world in a way, the social media
For sure.
craziness.
Hey. Yeah. So what gives you inspiration? What inspires you to do what you do?
Jeez. I'm kind of everything. I mean, life just inspires me to constantly research. That's the thing. The constant learning. Like, not that I have time to really like research all day. I really don't have time to read as many things that I want to read. In the world, I really want to go back to school and get my master's and one day doctorate. And I study anthropology and linguistics and culture, and I definitely want to go back into that. But for the time being, when I feel like I don't have enough time as I'm raising my son and all these kind of things, I just kind of try to look at the research that's out there, in a way that I can on YouTube or wherever. And also try to be mindful, as people say, it's good to just kind of like savor every day and just try to be happy about where you are. That's a constant goal, not always wanting or complaining, but just try to, that's another thing I would definitely say as advice that I think most people say. It's just like, really try to be happy in the now with what you've got, with who you are, because you may not have tomorrow, and constantly being like, oh, tomorrow I'll be happy when I'm this, when I've reached that, when I can do a triple turn. I'm a dancer that cannot do a triple turn, like, but I've danced my whole life, and I've always wished I could have that type of balance and control, but I just don't. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep working towards that little by little, and then maybe one day I'll get it and I'll be so happy. But I'm going to be happy now for what I do know. And I'm always saying this to my sister. We talk a lot about these kinds of things, and I say to her, like, oh my God, I'm so bad in Japanese class, but what makes me happy is that in my mind, I think I know more than someone that's never done it and doesn't know anything about it at all. So that kind of keeps me happy. Like, that means I've advanced. That means I've grown a little bit today. Knowing just one more word in Japanese or one more kanji, like, that makes me happy that I've advanced my brain. I've worked out my brain, and so the same thing for my body and my career. Like, it keeps me going to just think one little step each day makes me someone that did something better for myself. I've bettered myself today, so that means I love myself. So it's a self-love process as well, and so I feel good about that, and I try to keep that in mind. You know, I'm never going to be perfect or like flawless at it. I'm never going to be the best dancer in the room, but sometimes people come up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, you're an amazing dancer." I'm like, okay, that makes me laugh. Like, no, but thank you, because okay, maybe I'm better than something you haven't seen, or, you know, better than someone that doesn't dance swing dancing at all or something, or, you know. So this constant mini little steps of improvement that inspires me to keep going. And also the classic thing about maybe kind of more of a theater thing, but keeping in mind that if I touch just one person, it's all worth it. You know, it's all worth it. I've made these albums, you know, and I hope I can sell them. But if just one person got the album and was like, wow, that really inspired me, then that's worth it for me, you know. And that's what I hold. I keep in mind that, because I don't expect things from an audience either. I don't like to go into a show and be like, oh, I hope they love me, or like they give me a lot of energy back. No, I just want to give them, and then hope it bounces off somewhere and hits one person, you know. And I don't expect from them a certain reaction, because that kind of ruins it for you, I feel.
Yeah, well, you definitely touched and inspired me, you know. So, you know, I love you. You know, come on my show. I definitely appreciate you know. So
thank you.
Yeah. So so what do you think? So my next question is, what do you think we can do to change the world, to make the world better, in your opinion?
What do I think could what?
What do you think we can do to change the world, to make the world better, in your opinion?
Well, in my humble opinion, coming from a family where both my parents are teachers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I'm pretty interested in education, because I do really feel like between this question of nurture and nature, it's pretty much the nurture part is really important, and it's pretty much that's going to help us and save us. When I see the cycle, for example, in the United States, and this whole problem that happened with Cosby, and like even with R. Kelly in the beginning, people just cannot wrap their heads around it. How could they be rapists? How could they be evil people and great artists? Like, there's a problem of thinking. There's a problem where we are not being taught how to analyze, how to think properly, because we're stuck in this sort of cycle, repeating the cycle of, oh, well, it's kind of like idolatry as well, idolizing these stars and stuff. That's one thing. But throughout school, where is the part where we're taught critical thinking, really, you know, in terms of how we've been trained to be? They don't teach us to re-look at how we've become ourselves, which is so important. And I was talking about that in the beginning, this cultural conditioning. I really think every culture would benefit from just re-looking at their cultural conditioning at some point or another, having some sort of course that's mandatory. You know, it's not social studies. Where is it? Why is math and science so important, and not your brain, not the way that you actually go about life? When do we learn how to live, how to navigate between bullying and sexism and racism? There's nothing that really trains us on how to deal with those pressures. And so our automatic responses, these responses that we've been taught and learned, you know, subconsciously and also consciously by people around us, and everything we've seen in media and films and TV. And most of that is really a bad influence, is really these reactions that are aggressive and violent. And where is the moment where we learn nonviolent communication? Mandatory. Like, we don't. And for me, that's where we need to start, is in the school. Because if all the parents, for example, the racist parents in the United States that we see, have they stopped being racist after all these years when then slavery has been done? No, they're raising racist kids the exact same way they were. Now there's no Ku Klux Klan as much, but there's neo-Nazi, there's a whole bunch of other things, and then there's subtle racism, and then a bunch of people that don't even believe that racism exists within the system. Like, systemic racism doesn't exist. Really? That's a thing? You can even say that? You can come out your mouth and say that? You know, like, that's crazy to me. So the fact that these parents are raising racist kids, and then, you know, on the other end, we have, you know, the people that are being confronted with the racism are raising kids to be weary of white people and racism. So it's this sort of like involuntary reaction, like all the like many of the Black people that reacted towards me during the Cosby thing. Oh, you hate black people. Oh, he can't be a rapist because he's black and he's a victim. It's like, it shouldn't be an automatic response. There should be a thought process behind it. This particular man defies statistics if he's innocent. It's not possible that he's innocent. It just isn't possible. So the way that people were automatically like, you must be the hater. It's like, wow, that means racism is so in our heads that we have to see that first, and that's the fault of just the fact that we're being raised the same way over and over and over. And so who can stop that process? Not our parents, because that's all they know. It really falls in the school system. It really falls in the culture to develop something different to help us, and nobody's helping us. So for me, I really would wish that I could be the one to develop something that would go into the school system that could help us stop this. And just what I mean is just rethink things, just have something that just opens your brain in a minute. Like, oh, there's a new way to think. There's another way to think. I could change my reaction. It could be a non-involuntary reaction. I could choose to react differently, and thus, change myself, change the world, and I wish that could happen in the school system somehow. I know that there are people that are trying. I know there are systems that try to teach social intelligence and emotional intelligence in schools, but it's such a small, for me, I haven't seen it widespread, yet. And for me, so to answer your question in the end, I really think the way to change it is to get something in the widespread school system that helps combat the systems that we're being taught from our parents over and over and over again. That doesn't help anybody. That just keeps doing the same pattern over and over. We need something to help us in the school systems, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. So how does racism affect you? I mean, because it affected me personally as a kid, being put down with this, it hurts, So how did it affect you growing up, How did it affect you? Was it hard for you?
What, the race?
Yeah, basically, people being racist towards you. How did it affect you? Because it affected me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, can you tell me how it affected you, like the first time? Because I want to compare memories. What was your first time memory of like racism?
Well, I think when I was 12, and also when I was in school, I got called the N-word, and I remember I went home crying, because someone could spit at me. I was like, wow, people spit at me, they hate me. It's like crazy,
Wow.
So, and it just, just affected me because so that's how it affected me, because I didn't have any friends, so, and it's
wow.
This day I was like, wow, how can people be so cool,
I don't know.
So, yeah.
I wondered similarly this, like, why it's such a random difference to just be like, oh, you have a darker color, or and in my case, not even necessarily darker, but oh, I could recognize that you have a drop of blood. We're so obsessed in America with that thing, this one drop rule or whatever. But I remember when I was young, same thing. I heard the N-word, but it wasn't directed at me at first. But it was so shocking to me because I just didn't think people at that time would even say that. And it was funny because it had been a friend of mine. It was my best girlfriend at the time. She was Italian, and she would tell me, oh, my grandfather's racist, so stupid, something like that. And I'd be like, oh, I remember thinking, oh, I wish I could meet him. Could show him and prove to him that like black people are nice. Like, why would he not like me? I didn't get it. I was like, why not? So I was like, oh, that's too bad. And then she had another good girlfriend of ours, who was black as well, also named Nicolle. Two black girlfriends named Nicolle, and she was an Italian girl. And one day, I remember we were in elementary school. Maybe we were like 8, 9, and this one little boy kicked her, and he was a little black boy, and she just said, "No, freaking Nick N-word gets away with that ish." And I just remember I literally felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Like I just stopped walking. Like and I was like, "Whoa, is it true? Is it real that she could have just said that like that? Like my best friend? Like what? So okay." So then I learned that day, white people that are even your best friend can still be racist. They can still, and just one day say the N-word, maybe to you.
Yeah.
But they're probably still racist deep down inside. So that just like hit me. I was like, wow, it's deep. It's deep. And yeah, it always made me sad. That made me sad. And shortly thereafter, I just remember seeing girls harassed as well. Like I remember in elementary school, it was not clear why. Maybe she was like a fast girl, but I remember this girl was harassed a lot, and I wanted to befriend her because I was just like, why is everybody calling her names, like slut shaming her already, you know? And then like in middle school, like slut shaming became a thing as well. It's just all throughout school. So I was experiencing these racism and sexism and all these things, not classism, but a lot of people experience that as well. And then I remember getting to college. I went to Brown University, and the first week I was there, we had this thing called the Third World Transition Program, which is controversial, and everyone, a lot of people were against that. But it was really valuable to meet amongst ethnicities that are not the majority and just discuss how the isms affected us. That's what we did. Discussed how racism, classism, sexism affected us as minorities. And wow, it was powerful to hear so many testimonies and to realize that, oh, they put a name on it. These isms, this is what I've been going through all throughout my life. And that's when it hit me about the school system. Why did I have to wait all these years to learn technically what was happening to me and then therefore get the tools of how to deal with it? Are you kidding me right now? I had to pay $30,000, now $60,000 per year to learn that? Are you really kidding me right now? That is so unfair. That should be free. And it should definitely be in middle school because it was happening big time. Yeah. Big time. And instead of wasting my time crying about someone lied about me, that they had sex with me, and then I was a slut, because God forbid he have any responsibility in what happened. Actually, it didn't happen. You know, and even I had been lied about when it had happened. I had been lied about when it didn't happen. You know, but either way, I was still the only person that bore the responsibility of being a slut as a woman. Whereas the guy was still like chill. He was cool. His reputation, nothing happened to him. But I was a slut forevermore in the school. So, okay, great. So I'm sitting here crying about that, where no one told me, guess what? You don't have to care. First of all, this is sexism. It's not about you. And you don't have to care about what they think about you, because it's about them. They're the problem. I mean, not the problem, but they have their own issues to deal with. That's why they're calling you names. You know, maybe they're sad. Maybe they've been abused. And it's like, I never had that even sort of the empathy to think, oh, maybe they're hurting. So I could just laugh it off and be like, I'm sorry that you're hurting, but you know what? I know who I am. I'm a cool person. I love me. I don't have to be a slut. Maybe I'm in touch with my sensuality. Maybe I'm in touch with sex. So what? This idea of learning how to say so what, and to learn that it is actually a lot of things people throw on you is all projection and it's about them. It's such a great thing to learn. And I wish this is what we could have in starting from middle school. We can handle it, and we really need to handle it, because if not, we're handling all this junk being thrown on us and we think it's about us. It's like there's suicide younger and younger these days with the harassment they have on Facebook now, or Instagram or wherever. Like, I'm so glad that I did not have to deal with that on Facebook, on social media, because I would have been on it, and it would have been even more hurtful, you know. So I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that. And it's a shame that we have to wait so long to pay to learn these kind of lessons, you know.
Yeah, definitely agree. You know, so are you gonna be making any more film in the future, maybe, or any more TV shows in the future? Or?
I don't know. You know, I had a pretty nice audition the other day for a TV series out in France, but it didn't pan out. But I was happy. I was like, oh, finally, one audition. I mean, it was so long that I hadn't had any casting. But I do still have my manager in the States that, you know, takes care of me. And when she sees anything that looks pretty good for me, she does give me a call. So there's a possibility I could definitely come back and do some stuff in the States. And I would, you know, I would love it. But for now, I'm really concentrating on launching my project, Modern Geisha, and hopefully, you know, spreading some positive energy out there. Whether or not people want to listen to the message or not, it would still be cool to dance to the music. That's the point. Like, I want to have fun and also maybe try to say something as well. So that's my main goal. And if something comes up in terms of acting, that'd be great.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. So what did I like to do in your spare time when you're not acting or singing? What do I like to do for fun?
Well, at the moment, I love playing with my little boy. He's so cute. Yeah. He's starting to speak now and stuff, so it's awesome. And I do study Japanese for fun and also as a brain exercise for myself. And I also do that with my son. We listen to Japanese music together and stuff for kids. So eventually he'll go to Japanese class for kids, and if he enjoys it, he'll continue, and then that'll be like a mommy and me thing.
Oh.
And then, so for fun, I would maybe travel to Japan with him,
Mhm.
and also with my boyfriend, if he's available to come with us, and we do it as a family.
Mhm.
I love going to Ibiza, but I love house music, so Ibiza is really fun for me. But in my mindset, because I'm an artist, like so much is linked to my art. So Japanese, it's obviously also linked to my project, but it's fun for me outside of that as well.
Mhm.
And house music, same thing. I also study some house dance classes whenever I can. I also go to yoga when I like the hot yoga, like a sauna.
Mhm.
But it's also for my body to keep in shape. So it's an exercise for training, but it's also fun in a way, to train myself and to do this house dancing, and then go to the club. I do like to go to like places where I can hear music and just dance and practice this, like sort of like losing myself, and also practicing how to just express myself,
Mhm.
with no pressure,
Yeah.
out at the bar or the club that
Mhm.
plays good music,
Yeah.
or a party or something.
Mhm.
Um, and I like to read, and I love taking a bath and just chilling,
I hear.
watching a series, Netflix and
Yeah.
chill with myself, or like whoever, my
Mhm.
man, um, that
That's,
kind of stuff. And traveling, walking around. I
yeah.
take a jog. I visit the city.
Mhm.
So all that kind of stuff is fun.
It's original. Have you gone to Walt Disney World down there? Disney World?
You know what? I haven't, but now that I have my son and he's older, I definitely want to hit that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit that up, and we're gonna have to take a walk around, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be definitely with new eyes
Mhm.
as a mom.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been years. I don't remember the last time I went, so I'm really excited to do that eventually. Yeah, I hear it's good. Have you been?
I've been to Disney World in Florida so many times. I love it. I love it.
Really?
Especially Christmas time. I'm trying to go in December for. Christmas time. It's so beautiful down there, magical. But,
Ah, that's a good idea.
I was just there in July through COVID. It was still fun, but
Wow.
but besides was Pepper was we couldn't have Mickey Mouse, Kind of,
Yeah.
I
I
was,
like that fantasy. Yeah,
yeah,
we need to be in touch with our inner
yeah,
child, like our young selves. That's what,
yeah,
makes adulthood boring or frustrating,
yeah,
and lately I've really been trying to get myself used to doing the hard stuff, the annoying things like administration tasks and stuff, because that's adult life, but
yeah,
we got to do it and it never ends. It's like, so at some point we got to just accept it and not be mad about it, because that's life. We got to just smile through it
yeah.
and keep it moving, because if you're just upset about that, you're going to be upset every day.
I know, because it's not good to be upset, about things you can't change, So
Exactly.
I definitely understand what
Acceptance.
yeah, and yeah, and this, so I mean, and yeah, like I said, so I love to hear some more music, and sending my music, because it was such an honor to get to talk to you, meet you, because I've been so inspired by you, your passion, your music, and this is,
Thank you.
yeah. And do you want to ask me any questions? Do you want to ask me some questions?
What type of music do you make?
Well, my first and I make R&B hip hop music,
Mm,
about God, love, intimacy, those kind of songs, and.
mm,
And so far they've been here. I put them on SoundCloud,
okay.
and we also wrote a song called Best Friend's Couch, and I want to send that to you, so because I think you love it,
Yeah, I definitely want to hear it. Yeah.
and and send all my songs, because it's because music just such inspires me so much, So I love music, and
Healing. It's so healing.
mm-hmm,
And that's why I like to put my music into this like house vibe, because I really want to have, if possible, people be able to dance and heal, because for me that's really where it's at. My father loved house music. He loved old school music, like
yeah,
doo-wop and stuff, but he really loved house music, like that original stuff, like, gotta have house music,
we
so
do,
I'm into that. It reminds me of gospel in a way. It's like very, puts you in like a spiritual trance in a way.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, music heals, man. It's
Definitely.
great. It's good to do it. So I definitely want to hear that.
I
And
promise you,
then
I'm
I have
sending
another question. How long have you been doing this show?
on my show. I started the show back in actually in 2000 in 2019. I did
Ah,
I did an internship at being in Boston neighborhood in Africa, and I got it through there. I started doing camera film, learning about the business, and it's just been so wonderful to have my own show, because I get to,
wow.
because
Yeah, kudos.
I,
Congratulations.
because I get to meet people like you, other stars, and just my blessing, So and so yeah, so and like I said, I mean, it's just the show has just changed my life. Having a show, get to meet people, interview to hear, learn the stories like yourself, and so yeah, so if I can touch somebody, that's a blessing for me, So and I also
I feel the same.
yeah, I also went to college. I also got my social degree in liberal arts this past May. So I'm a college graduate now. I'm going to get my bachelor's degree now.
Nice.
So
yes, very cool.
So yeah, so I can sort of be an actor or a singer myself, just so I have something to fall back on. So, but yeah, did you go to college? Did you go to college?
Yeah, I got my degree in linguistic anthropology.
Wow.
And culture and communication. So I definitely want to continue that, and if I can do anything more, know something more from those studies, that's the goal. It's really interesting to study how people are, or how why I am the way I am, and why we all are. That's what anthropology is all about: study of man and our social habits. So I think it's really it's a great way to look at life.
Yeah, I'm thinking about studying that myself because it's good to have an idea of what people feel, I think, so you can understand them better, So
Exactly.
So I definitely agree. That's something to look into myself, So and yeah, exactly. Because like I said, because you definitely inspired me, So and it was such an honor to talk to you, meet you, and learn about you, your story, and
thanks.
I always welcome you. You're always welcome on my show, So anytime I come on, you're always welcome, So
thank you. Yeah, thank you for doing what you do. It's really cool.
Yeah, and hope to get you. And like I said, I hope to get to meet you if you're in the Boston. We can meet in New York.
For sure.
I'd love to meet you. Be honored to meet you in person. So
definitely, we gotta do that selfie or get that coffee.
Coffee that'd be great. And if you can send me the form, at least I can have this played on WBC. And I'll send you.
I will.
Music tonight. So we can stay in touch. And
I will. I'm gonna be mixing next week, so I got you.
So I'll send tonight, and I'll give myself on them too. Please stay in touch. Give me a call, stay in touch, And
okay, perfect.
Well, so it's just a blessing, So I hope to talk to you later on, and wish you all the best, Thank you for coming on my show, Let me inspire and touch me, And
definitely, thank you. Me too.
God bless. I'll see you soon. Take care. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. Bye bye. Have a good one.
Goodbye. Take care. I love you. Bye.
You too.
Take care.